So this is part 3 of the Dark Ages notes. We have 2 more to go. We'll finish probably 3 actually, but we will finish up this week and have them all ready to go, and I'll hopefully update more of these more often. But let's get started here. All right, so here is your title. It is the Dark Ages still. We're in part 3, which is feudalism, their economic and a little bit of their political situation going on there. All right, so feudalism is a political system where the king's in charge, and it's kind of like a pyramid where the king's at the top and peasants are on the bottom, and knights and nobles are kind of in the middle. But it's also an economic system where people trade, work, protection, taxes, all that kind of stuff. People with money, mostly kings, buy protection in form of walls and warriors to protect their main asset, which is what they need the most, which is the peasants. Most of the time, basic needs are provided for. Let me move that over. Like water, food, protection from invaders and stuff like that. And most of the people who are doing that are the knights. So, how does this work? Well, king is at the top, pretty much doing nothing, getting everything. Lords are next. Then the knights. The knights give protection to the lords. The lords give land, or what we call fiefs, sections of land that they own, to the knights. The knights peasants at the bottom give work or labor, maybe taxes, maybe food, to the knights. The knights give protection to the peasants. That's the economic system of it. I'll tell you the other one here in a second. And then everything goes to the king. King owns everything. So that means most people are paying all the taxes, and the king, they live on nothing, and the king gets everything. And so here's an example. So we have 8 peasants here who make 100 tacos each. They have to give some to the knights that are protecting them. Let's say they have to give 200 tacos each to the knights. The knights still are in debt to the lords because they gave them land, so they give taxes to them in the form of 200 tacos. So peasants get half of what they get, 400 tacos for 800 people. Not a whole lot. The knights get substantially more, 100 tacos for a knight, and 200 tacos for nobles. Most of those will also go to the king. We're going to do a brain stack. Before we get to the brain stack, I'm going to give you one example of how this works. So, let's say you have a place called Imagine Land, and it's a rectangle, and it's owned by the king. King is like, oh, I don't know what to do with all this land. I'm going to give it to a bunch of my friends. So he gives it to his friends, who are the nobles. The nobles say, I'm too lazy to work this land, so they divide it up and give a part of it to knights who offer protection. Invaders are also coming in like Vikings, and the nobles are like, oh crap, I really do need protection, so I'll get these knights to help me out. And so they do. Then the knights are like, oh, I'm super, super lazy as well, and I'm going to use these peasants to work the land for me. I'll offer them protection from the invaders and all that kind of stuff as well. And then I'll take taxes and give them to the noble, who will give them to the king. So the king really owns everything. The nobles own a part of it, the knights own a part of it, and the peasants own nothing and can't leave or do anything without permission, basically. So this is a textbook attack we did. Use the index to find the definition, chapter, and heading of the following word, which was serf. We found out that serf is another word for peasant. Speaking of peasants, let's talk about daily life. Daily life of people. One, peasants. Peasants' life was terrible. They are the lowest of the low. rank on the pyramid, and they really can't move anywhere. They can't go to different places. They can't go to different, to another leader or anything like that. So pretty terrible.
Strip wood floors, shelves of holiday knickknacks, and a nice drop of Bordeaux wine. Maybe the medieval ideal home wasn't so different from today's. But I'm still a bit nervous about what they had to eat.
It's this. Pottage. Evidently, the recipe for pottage is take anything and put it into a pan of water and boil it up for 2 hours. Now, the reason you have to boil everything you pick out of the fields for 2 hours is because they used human excrement on the fields. So even lettuce had to be boiled, which made the salads rather soggy. Anyway, let's try the pottage. It's pretty disgusting. But you could have cheered it up, I suppose, with a few herbs, maybe even some garlic. They also had an instant form of pottage, and you could take this into the fields with you, and then you could liquefy it with a bit of beer and eat that if you wanted to.
So, peasants' life obviously was pretty awful. Their main food was pottage, as you saw in the video. Basically, you take whatever veggies you want, boil them up into a mush, and if you didn't boil it, you might get sick because they used human excrement to basically fertilize their stuff. They couldn't move anywhere, like they couldn't really do anything. They got beaten if they did bad stuff. They might have gotten killed by Vikings. I mean, it was a terrible existence. That brings us to the knights, who are supposed to protect them. There are lots of legends about knights that are just not true, unfortunately. And we mentioned a couple of them in the class. That they fight dragons, like in this picture, that, they go on quests, like Corrected, and save the lady and the damsel in distress. Yeah, none of those are true. The only thing that is true about knights is that they made money from taking taxes from peasants. They also fought Vikings and fought everybody else, and treasures were mostly their money as well. They did treat peasants pretty badly because they didn't need them. They get all their money and stuff like that from nobles and kings. But they did have enough money to buy salvation from the church, which means, which we'll talk about later when the Reformation happens, that the church was selling pieces of paper that said, hey, your sins are forgiven. That's it. So you could buy that. Peasants couldn't because they were poor. One famous knight was named Robin Hood. He was a knight that went on the Crusades, came back, fought after he fought for the church, saw this situation with the knights, did not like it, became a hero, stealing from the rich, giving it to the poor. We went over if he was real a lot. Some people said yes, some people said no, which is pretty much what it is today. So, if knights were so bad, why are they so popular? Well, because of this. This is all what we remember from that time. The tournament. Tournament is a large gathering of knights where they would compete in a series of things. People would root for their favorite knights, much like we root for the Titans or the Braves or whoever. And it also gave knights a chance to train for battle. It was a series of games like archery, jousting, writing poetry. They did train, but also to impress the ladies, which is why the poetry's there. This is what the jousting was.
And what are you doing here, Griffin? I thought I told you never to show your face here again.
Hey, we're just watching, all right? I don't want any trouble.
No, you got trouble if you don't beat it.
Listen, buddy.
I said get lost.
Where's he going?
Dad!
Let him go, kids.
You see that, kids? Your father's nothing but a fizzle.
Nobody calls me a fizzle and gets away with it. Except that one guy who called me a fizzle and then ran off. He got away with it. But most people who call me a fizzle don't get away with it. Well, actually, that guy who got away with it was the only one who ever called me a fizzle. After today, only half the people who ever called me a fizzle will have gotten away with it.
It appears a new challenger has entered the field. The crowd has fallen deathly ill. Silent. Sorry.
Oh my God, I'm gonna die.
Oh, to the owner of a yellow Hyundai, your car is being towed.
What?
That was amazing. You were so brave.
Nice going, Dad.
There you go. There's what the jousting looked like. And one more brain stack to end it and their notes.
The zombies are coming. Brains.
Three,
And this was a 3-2-1 shot.
1.
So if you haven't done this, make sure you do it. That you have how many class? We have 4 classes in feudalism. You want to have 3 of them. 2 things, bad things about being a president. 1 reason knights were heroes. That concludes this set of notes. Make sure you look it over for the test or whatever you're doing, and we'll go from there. So have a good one.